What's happening, everybody? Happy finals week. We've officially made it. The long season, it all comes down to this, right? So, congratulations to those who made it, to finals week. It's an exciting week. There's a lot of anticipation, of course, lots to be proud of. Job's not finished yet, but lots to be proud of. And hopefully we can help. There's probably not too many lineup decisions to be made at this point, which is why I didn't really label this a waiver wire show. Yes, there are certainly options out there to pick up, but at this point, for the most part, your lineup is probably in pretty good shape. Outside of your, maybe Tyler Higbee's sitting out there after a monster week, or you could use a quarterback. There's plenty of maybe Isaiah Hodgins is out there for those of you contemplating what to do with your wide receivers. Hunter Renfrow could be available. There's probably not too many waiver pickups that can be made at this point, but of course we can talk about that. If you are in the championship match and you do have a lineup decision that is still outstanding, or something that needs to be figured out between now and Sunday, if not Thursday. But again, congratulations to those who made it. Congratulations to those who are in the championship match. It's an exciting week. It's a nervous week, of course. You want to win. The job's not done. But we're happy to help talk shop with you on that. And then if there's anybody in here who wants to come hang out, who didn't make it, maybe you're not in any finals matches this year, you didn't make it to championship week, that's okay. We can talk shop about that too. How did your season go? Where do you think where did it go wrong in the sense of I didn't make it to finals week? Or were you just were you just the result of bad luck at some point in the playoffs, or maybe in the stretch run over the past few weeks to either clinch or not clinch a playoff berth? There's a multitude of reasons. It's a difficult game, right? By the most generic of odds, if you're playing in a 10 team league, you have a 20% chance of making it, which means you have an 80% chance of not making it. If it's 12 or 14 team, your odds are longer. It's not easy to make the championship match, regardless of format. So if you didn't make it, where can we correct? Where can we course correct? What happened? What transactions what transactions were made or not made that you can maybe identify or pinpoint where it didn't necessarily go your way? We can talk about that as well. So everything's on the table today. John may be joining us. He is at the doctor once again. I think he's it's not COVID anymore. I think he might be dealing with some physical pain, something like that. Hopefully he's all right, but hopefully we'll have John at some point during this stream. We shall see. But again, anything is on the table for anybody who, whether you made it to championship week or not, and who got you there. Honestly, that's another nice thing to think about. Like what moves did you make that did work out for those who made it to championship week? Did you continue to go with your robust running back approach? Did you take a zero RB approach and hit on the right guys? Josh Jacobs, Miles Sanders. Those were the zero RB targets that likely got you to championship week if you deployed that strategy. Did you make it without having Travis Kelce? Because that in and of itself is almost an uphill climb at this point. He's so separated himself as the top option at tight end. Where do you draft him next year? Do you just take him top 5 and set and forget the tight end position? Certainly a viable strategy, or that's what it feels like at this point. At least, as we roll into this final week of the 2022 calendar year. Something to think about. There's all different types of strategies that you can deploy, of course. What worked for you? What didn't work? Did you try, do you play in multiple leagues? Did one thing work, but something else didn't? You know, if you're not in championship week, this is about that time of the of the season where you can kind of reflect on what strategy did you deploy, what players stepped up for you as a result, and who didn't, and why, or why do you think you can pinpoint what happened, and how do we address that so that you are in the championship game in 2023. So there's tons of things that can be on the table today. And then, of course, obviously, hopefully everybody had a nice holiday season or a nice holiday weekend, however you chose to spend or however you happened to spend the day. Hopefully everybody had a good weekend. But as far as any transactions that may have happened between now and the end of the weekend. So obviously Titans Cowboys are Thursday night. So for those of you in championship week, you're obviously paying attention to the injury reports for Derrick Henry, and plenty of Cowboys. So are probably CeeDee Lamb, Tony Pollard. There's probably a decent number of teams in the finals because of the performances of guys like CeeDee Lamb and the Cowboys running backs. They all had big games. And then, of course, Derrick Henry was listed as he didn't participate again. With Thursday games, every team that plays on Thursday has to issue a Monday practice report, even though it's technically a walkthrough and they probably don't even do much of anything on Mondays. Derrick Henry was listed not practicing on Monday. That's obviously a maintenance rest day. He was seen, or quote unquote seen, participating today. There's no concerns about Derrick Henry's status for Thursday night. I believe that is a home game for Tennessee. I'm pretty sure. Just double checking here. It is. It is a home game for Derrick Henry. Got in a limited practice today. And then also, another thing, the Titans are now one of those teams. They were sitting pretty a few weeks ago, about a month ago, as far as the AFC South is concerned, but that has changed. They've lost games. They've lost Ryan Tannehill probably for the season. Now they're in a dogfight for just making the playoffs. I think Jacksonville is actually now the favorite to win the AFC South. So they're going to give the ball to Derrick Henry, I don't know, 30 to 35 times this week at home on a short week, with their season on the brink. So if you're relying on Derrick Henry, you can probably expect significant volume at home. Let's see what else happened since then. Will Dissly has been placed on injured reserve, so Noah Fant is a viable tight end option for you. As far as streams go, anyway, doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be something that you can completely rely on, but that opens things up for Noah Fant. With Will Dissly on IR. Myles Gaskin was also placed on injured reserve for the Dolphins. I mean, no disrespect to Myles Gaskin, but it's become an afterthought with Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson in Miami. I don't want to put a guy in his coffin, but you wonder what Myles Gaskin's time left in the NFL might look like. But we'll always have 2020, I guess. Tony Pollard was reportedly somebody who didn't practice Tuesday. We can't worry about that right now. We can't worry about Tony Pollard as far as not practicing Tuesday on a short week. We got to be able to operate like he's gonna. Right now, we have to operate like he's going to play, but if he can't go, that's a big loss. That's an RB2 that you're potentially not going to have. But let's see what Wednesday brings. Let's see what the Wednesday practice report brings as it pertains to Tony Pollard. Zeke, of course, gets a huge boost if Tony Pollard can't go. We'll have to keep an eye on him. And then, Henry listed as official limited practice on Tuesday. So those are pretty much the big updates right now. Obviously not too many with the week only just starting. And then, of course, in other news, the Broncos fired Nathaniel Hackett. Um, Less than 1 year on the job probably needed to happen. There were people questioning him, and rightfully so. There were people questioning Nathaniel Hackett from the start, from week one. Showed all types of clock management blunders week one, and it cost Denver the game. And remember, at the time, it looked like the Seattle Seahawks were going to be an afterthought this season, and the Broncos were going to be not just a contender for the AFC West, but a Super Bowl contender after the trade for Russell Wilson. That obviously didn't pan out in the worst way for Denver, but Nathaniel Hackett certainly had a lot to say, had a lot to do with where the Broncos are at, with coaching mismanagement, game time, clock mismanagement. The guy was clearly in over his head from day one, so he gets fired, and I would not be feeling good. Even despite that, I would want that as a Broncos fan, but I'm not feeling good either way. Russell Wilson looks like he might be shot. So anyway, that's some different news. Just wanted to call out. So anyway, again, anything's on the table today. As I see a few more people coming into the chat, coming into the room. Welcome in, everybody. Again, congrats to those who have made it to championship week. It's an exciting week. It's a nervous week, of course, right? The job's not done yet. Congrats to those who made it to championship week. And if you didn't, I mean this in the most, I want to be helpful way as possible. What happened? Where do you think you maybe went wrong? Was it just this week? Did you just get unlucky? Did you have a really good team and you get unlucky? Or did you maybe didn't even make it to the semifinals? What happened? Did the strategy that you tried to deploy this year backfire? Was it just bad luck or injuries or whatever? Did you pick the wrong guy? Did you go a zero RB approach and not pick Josh Jacobs, right? Like something like that. Anything's on the table today, whether you're in the championship match or not. But again, if you are, congratulations. It is an exciting time. But what's going on, everybody? Quinn, Hunter, Iron, Joe, good to see everybody. Good to see that we got some people in the finals this week. That is very exciting. Congratulations, guys. It's fun when your hard work pays off, right? We pay so much attention to this. We pay so much attention to this game for not just the 16 weeks thus far, but, the months leading up to it. In June is, if you play redraft, that's when you turn the corner. At least that's when I always turn the corner. It's like, all right, I'm focusing on football now. July, you start molding what you want to do. You start thinking about the guys that you want to draft, like who makes sense this year and why. And then, of course, August is when things really start to kick into high gear. So we've been at this for the better part of 6 months. So it feels good to get this far, but obviously we want to finish the job. Good to see that you guys are in some finals. And as far as who to start this week, we'll obviously kick things off. We can kick that conversation off today. Obviously, practice reports have to come out. There's a long way to go between now and Sunday. I don't think there are any Saturday games this week, right? We're finally back to a full slate of games on Sunday. Yeah, we are. We have our game on Thursday between the Cowboys and the Titans, and then it's a traditional week again. No Saturday games this week. That's right. That's because there's college bowl games this week, so the NFL can't poach some Saturday time slots without losing some viewers to the college football playoff this Saturday. So full slate on Sunday. So we will be back to our normal tempo as far as Saturday, Sunday streams. They were a little thrown off these past couple of weeks with all of the Saturday games, but we will be, for one more time this year, available for start sit help on Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern, Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern. Last time this season for the weekend streams. Here to help those who are in championship week, or maybe you're in just a third place match and maybe there's money on the line. I play, in the leagues that I commission, you can get your buy-in back and maybe a little extra actually if you win the third place game. So if you're in the third place match and there's money at stake, or if there's money at stake in general in some way, shape, or form, maybe your league has special rules for anybody who's not in the championship match where you can still win some money. Start sit help will be available here on the channel one last time this season, this weekend, Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern, Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern. But let's get into these questions and comments without any further delay. Quinn, as far as Cousins, Lamar, or Lawrence, Cousins I know is on the road in Green Bay. I would want to check the weather in Lambeau before committing to Cousins. Lawrence, the Jags are on the road against Houston. That's actually not a great matchup by the numbers because they're such an easy team to run on. Lamar, meanwhile, is at home against Pittsburgh. If he can play, he hasn't played since week 13 when he went down with the injury. So it's been a 3+ week absence for Lamar Jackson. I am tempted to say that if Lamar is healthy, you have to roll the dice on his upside. I know we haven't seen Lamar's ceiling pretty much since week 3. We haven't seen a Lamar Jackson like takeover game. He was pretty he was actually pretty underwhelming from weeks 4 to week 9. Honestly, leading up to the injury, he had been okay. He hadn't been great. I mean, Cousins is playing the best of these three. But on the road in Green Bay, where it could be really cold, that one could be a little dicey. That one could be a little dicey. He's been really good, Cousins has, but we also have to remember 5 of his past 6 games have been played at home, and the one road game was also in a dome in Detroit. So it's a little bit of a different beast having to go play the Packers in Lambeau. And not that the Packers are world beaters this year, but going on the road in Lambeau when you're a dome team in this late in the season is still a tough play, right? It's still a tough assignment. I'm tempted to say, Quinn, that if Lamar is a full participant in practice all week, that you maybe just roll that he's the guy with the highest upside and he is at home. Can the Ravens improve their playoff positioning? They have to be able to. Actually, yeah. I mean, the division is still up for grabs. The Bengals have not clinched the AFC North yet, even though they look like they're well on their way to doing that. But the Ravens could still win the division. They could still, if they want to, hold off the Chargers for a higher seed. Yeah, I mean, basically, at that point, you start. You don't worry about things necessarily if you're a wild card team and you're just worrying about getting in. But the Ravens are still in play for the division. I would probably think I want to play Lamar at home, but he's got to log full practices. He has to log full practices first. Tentatively, I would say Lamar, but if Lamar is out, I would probably just go, despite the less than ideal spot and matchup, I would probably play Cousins just because he's playing the best right now of these options. And despite the road game, you might just want to roll the dice on the guy who's on an actual heater. So probably Cousins. But if Lamar logs full practices, and we'll come back to this on Saturday or Sunday, depending on Lamar's status for the game, I might just say roll with the guy who has the highest upside. I know he doesn't have his weapons right now. Devin Duvernay's out for the rest of the regular season. And he's kind of down to Demarcus Robinson and Deshaun Jackson and James Prochet as his wide receivers. But Lamar is that X factor, that Konami code, X factor upside with his ability to run, of course. If he can log full practices, I would probably plug him in. But if not, I would probably pivot to Cousins. Lawrence has the worst matchup of these three. And it's not that Houston is a bunch of world beaters. It's just they're so easy to, not easy, but yeah, it's such a favorable matchup on the ground. Teams just run on them, and I don't know that the Texans have allowed like a top 12. I don't think they've allowed more than a couple top 12 performances for quarterbacks for opposing quarterbacks this season. It's not a great spot for Lawrence, although he does look like he's kind of piecing and putting things together. Lawrence is going to be good for a while. For a long time. It looks like he's living up to that billing that comes with being the number 1 overall pick and the best quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck. So, yeah. So tentatively, I'm penciling in Lamar if he can log full practices. Hunter, you got there on the back. TJ Hawkinson, man, what a resurgence he has had since that trade from Detroit to Minnesota. I'm still not 100% sure. Maybe I'm missing something, but I don't know why the Lions did that trade. Why would you trade a guy that you drafted in the top 10? Hawkinson is still only like 25 years old. Why would you trade him to your division rival? I got a second round pick, which is good capital, but Hawkinson has been outstanding. They got a second round pick, a third round pick in a couple of years from now. But they gave up draft capital. The Lions did as well, in addition to giving up Hawkinson. I don't understand why the Lions did that trade. That offense would be looking even more lethal than it already is, and they already look pretty damn good. But if they still had Hawkinson, like, I don't know, did they need to eventually pay him? I don't totally understand why the Lions made that trade. If someone has any insight or shed light on that, by all means, go for it. But anyway, since the trade to the Vikings, Hawkinson has been one of the elite options at the tight end position. He's probably been is he the tight end 2 since the trade behind Kelsey? He might be, or Kittle. He might be the tight end 3. He's the tight end. He's got to be the tight end 2 or 3. He's slam dunk top 5 since the trade. There's no doubt. He's been awesome. Jefferson has been probably definitely of the fantasy playoffs, but maybe of the entire season. Jefferson has been the fantasy MVP this year. And he's only just getting started. How old is he? 24? Vikings have he'll be 24 in June. Justin Jefferson, as a 23-year-old kid, is already the best receiver in football. And he's doing it week after week. The guy's been absolutely money. And yeah, I think there were some defense streaming questions over the weekend, and I love my boy Nick Foles, but it was easy to target him in this broken Colts offense by going with the Chargers. I don't know who the Colts play this weekend, but whoever they play, it might make sense to go after the opposed. Oh, it's the Giants. Stream the Giants this week, boys and girls, if you can. If you have any fob left, and you're streaming defenses, just go grab the Giants. That Colts team is broken. They are done. That is a team that can't wait for the season to be over. It doesn't matter if they start Nick Foles or Sam Ellinger, or if they go back to Matt Ryan, or if they decide to plug in one of us at quarterback. That is a broken team. That is a broken offense. The Giants, I believe, can clinch a playoff berth with a win. They might need a little bit of help, but at home, I would make, if I'm streaming defenses and the rest of my lineup and the rest of my situation is set up for championship week, and I know I don't need like a spot start from an available free agent, your top priority or whatever fob you have left, just spend it on the Giants. Spend it on the Giants. And attack that Colts offense, because they are broken. But glad to see you made it, Hunter. Congrats, man. That's awesome. Iron, what's going on? Sorry about the bad ratio. 1 out of 8 is obviously something that you hope for more. Of course, that's the nature of the beast. You're in 8 semifinals. You hope to. I mean, just conservatively, you hope to get half of them, right? You hope to make it to half. You win 4, you lose 4, right? You live with that. Only making it once, that stinks. That's a tough draw. The Broncos killed so many people this week. I know it's easy to say in hindsight, but I've said this on live streams this season. I have a little bit of pause. And yes, nobody expected the Rams to score 51 points. Nobody expected the Rams to score 21 points, let alone 51. I worry about teams that aren't playing for anything this year, and they're dysfunctional, right? Because what are the Broncos? They're dysfunctional. They just fired their their head coach less than 1 year on the job. That is a dysfunctional team. Russell Wilson has been putrid this year, and I'm not sure that he's not just done in general. Like, don't try to draft Russell Wilson at an extreme discount next year. You're going to be slightly less disappointed because you spent very little on him, but he looks shot. Russell Wilson looks like a broken football player. I don't know that he's got it anymore. Truly. You are playing with a little bit of fire when you are rolling the dice on teams or defenses, players in general that are attached to broken, dysfunctional situations. And the 4-10 Broncos are the 2022 definition of dysfunctional. Like, the Rams are bad, right? The Rams are not good, but they picked up Baker Mayfield. Sean McVay is still highly regarded as a very good NFL coach. Like, it's not the same. It's not the same 4-10 record as the Broncos 4-10 record. Plus, the Rams were hit with a slew of injuries. The Broncos, you knew that Russ was playing really poorly. You knew Nathaniel Hackett wasn't long for this job. Like, maybe he makes it to the end of the season, but then after giving up 51 to the Baker Mayfield-led Rams offense that currently deploys Van Jefferson and Tutu Atwell and Brandon Powell, as your starting wide receivers, like, yeah, that's bad. It is dicey to roll with defensive units or even players in general that are in dysfunctional situations. Still, you don't expect the Broncos to give up 51 points. They have been a pretty good defense. They've been a very good defense all year. But when you're the lone bright spot of a terrible dysfunctional situation, you're playing with fire. And not you necessarily. Like, the Broncos defense is going to consistently be in no-win situations, whether Russ puts them in bad spots because he's turning the ball over, or the Broncos offense in general isn't scoring, so they're not supporting the defense in any way, shape, or form. These are the types of things we have to be careful with in general. You have to be careful with relying on situations that are just dysfunctional, and that was the Broncos this year. Yeah. So they killed a lot of people. The Broncos screwed a lot of people, and not just the defense. I mean, that offense in general was a big fat L this year from Russ, Javonte Williams getting hurt really early in the season, Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy both being in and out of the lineup. Greg Dulcich was he had a nice emergence, but he's been really quiet recently. I mean, when your lone bright spot is adding, how old is Latavius Murray at this point? 31, 32 years old, adding him, and now he leads your backfield in rushing in like an emergency situation. Melvin Gordon gets cut. Like, nothing went right for the Broncos this year. Absolutely nothing. So, the defense looks decent. But then, of course, they traded a potential cornerstone player in Bradley Chubb to try to recuperate some of the draft capital that they lost in the Russell Wilson trade, which is already looking like an epic L for Denver. God, that was, yeah, what a disaster if you're a Broncos fan, or if you were relying on Broncos this year for fantasy. It's brutal. It's brutal. I mean, Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy might be decent discounts next year. But it might feel like pulling teeth if Russ doesn't improve. And really, what reason do we have to believe that he's going to get any better after what we saw? Terrible. Terrible. So sorry about it, Iron. But hey, these are at least you have something, right? It's only one. You wanted more, but at least you have something. You have a championship to play for. That's all we can ask for, right? Get me in the championship game at least in one area, right? At least once. That's all. That's all. Joe, what's going on? First time in the finals. Congratulations, bro. That's awesome. That's what we play for, right? To get to the championship match and hopefully win the damn thing. But you have to make it first. So congratulations. That's awesome. That's awesome. Elout, what's going on? Congratulations on making it to the finals. Hopefully, we were able to help out through the season. Um, but that's awesome. Congratulations. Good to see. Good to see people. Good to see people who on the channel making it to the finals. That's what it's all about, right? The weeks and months that we pour of energy that we pour into the time, all the calculating, all the thinking, it all comes down to this, right? So happy to see that y'all made it. Um, as far as advice changes, advice for changes, um, you're obviously playing Mixon, you're obviously playing AJ Brown, you're obviously playing Waddle. Um, the Cowboys are playing the Titans on the road. I guess that's fine because it's despite the short week and them being on the road. That should be fine because again, they're going against Malik Willis. They should be all right. Um, personally, are the Lions back home? Are the Lions back home? You think? Oh, they're at home against Chicago. Hmm. Meanwhile, who does San Francisco get this week? Purdy's on the road in Vegas. Yeah, he should be fine in that game. That probably makes sense to just keep firing him up. He's been pretty safe, and the matchup is good at home. Or, sorry, on the road. Yeah, that's probably fine. It's probably fine to stick with Purdy. Um, as far as Algier, who has been very good this year, let's see. He's at home against Arizona. You might want to play him. I mean, they've essentially turned to him the past 2 weeks. 18 carries last week, 4 catches. The week before, 17 carries, only 1 catch that went for negative yardage, but still the opportunities are there. They seem to be going to Tyler Algier. I would fire him up at home against Arizona, who is they are officially dead. Like they're dead I mean, they've been dead, but they're really dead. You might want to put Algier in there over Jacoby Myers. Who do the Patriots have this week? They're home against oh, that's right. They're at home against Miami. Yeah, and Myers had a really nice day. 6 carries for 83 yards. Or 6 catches, excuse me, for 83 yards and a score. Yeah. We may need to think that one through a little bit, Elout. The running back is tempting, though. The running back is tempting. You can go ahead probably, and I don't think Jalen Hurts is returning this week. Is he? He's not. There's no way. He's listed questionable. They won't rule him out for week 17. Yeah, all right. So you have to keep him. You have to hang on to him. But yeah, I think that looks fine. It's going to be. Or can you play Algier? Oh, I guess if you can play Algier and Jacoby Myers, that could be interesting. And then who do the Bucks have this week? Because Rachaad White, of course, he's always an option. They're at home against Carolina. That could pan out. Rachaad White could pan out. We'll have to think about that one, Elout. We're gonna have to let that cake bake a little bit. See if there's any practice reports that are telling in any way, shape, or form. But you got some good options. The Lions have the Bears at home. Yeah, that's probably at home. You feel fine going back to DeAndre Swift. I mean, I guess so anyway. He's been a little quiet. He was quiet last week, and 2 of the past 3 weeks he's been kind of quiet. But at least he's at home. He's at home in a good matchup. Of course, the last time he was at home in a good matchup, he had like 50 total yards of offense on 9 touches. Hopefully he can get a few more touches. Week 17 at home against the Bears in a game that the Lions absolutely need. Something to consider. Mixon, Swift, AJ Brown, Waddle, Njoku, that all looks fine. I guess the question is Algier versus Myers versus Rashad White. All three are viable. We'll have to take the week to see how practice reports play out. Maybe a little bit more of a definitive answer this weekend when we host our Start Sit live streams. Because of course we have to keep an eye on the health of Christian Watson as well. Or let's see what's going on with him. The hip injury. He's got a chance to play this week. He's in play as well. If he can log some practice time, Watson is in play as well. That's a spectacular matchup at home against the Vikings. It's a great matchup. Watson's in play too. There's lots of there's lots to play out, out between now and the practice reports between now and Saturday. Let's see what the practice reports. Let's see what they tell us. We'll see. We'll see. And I'm fine. Yeah, I'm fine with Purdy. I'm fine with Purdy as your quarterback. But also Goff has been fantasy friendly at home this year for what it's worth. Goff has been very fantasy friendly. And you have Swift. So could be a little stack if he catches a couple balls. Astro, what's going on? Akers, Allen, Godwin, or Kamara. You can only play one? The Bucks have Arizona, or no, not Arizona. The Bucks have Carolina at home. That's a great matchup. Godwin's been really good at home this year for the most part. Even dating back to the time that he missed due to his injury. He was still putting up decent numbers, all things considered. Kamara, the Saints are on the road against the Eagles. That could be a tough spot. That could be a tough spot for Kamara. Like, he'll give you a floor play, but I don't know if he'll give you a ceiling play. That's a tough spot. Godwin's in a good matchup. Keenan Allen got all of the work on Monday night. And they're at home against the Rams. I might say Allen. I know Akers exploded again against a dysfunctional, broken Rams team. This week he gets the Chargers, which is a very good match. It's a great matchup. I would tentatively say Keenan Allen, Astro. He's probably been the most consistent, the most rock solid. Nothing scary at this time of at this point in the season. Nothing scary about the matchup against the Rams. It's kind of funny. They're playing in SoFi. I don't think anybody really associates the Rams or the Chargers to LA. It's going to be a lot of it's going to be a lot of road. I don't know that that's going to be a home game for either team. Everybody in Los Angeles likes the Raiders. It's going to be a weird game. It's going to be a weird game where it's going to be like there's going to be like 10 Rams fans, maybe 3 or 4 Chargers fans, and a bunch of randos. So there's no like home field advantage there, so to speak, for either team. I would tentatively say Keenan Allen, Astro. Tentatively say Keenan Allen. As far as the Cowboys or the Giants, we're all in on the Giants defense this week, guys. If you are streaming defenses, if there's not a clear and obvious ad on the waiver wire, you're in championship week, or maybe you're in the third place game, whatever. If you're playing for money, if you're still playing for something, the Giants, it's easy. Fire them up. Fire up anybody who's playing the Colts. The Giants are at home against the Colts this week. I don't care if it's Nick Foles. I don't care if it's Sam Ehlinger. I don't care if they go back to Matt Ryan. I don't care if Jeff Saturday decides to get in there and take some snaps at quarterback. I don't care if they call one of us and ask them to see if we can play QB. Because at this point, the Colts are running on fumes. Fire up the Giants this week. Fire up the Giants at home. They have playoff. It's a playoff clinching scenario for the Giants. They're going to come out fired up to take care of business against an inferior team. The Colts are a broken offense. It's a bad offensive line. The quarterback is the quarterback stinks. Whoever it is, the run game is invisible with no Jonathan Taylor. Michael Pittman has become, limited to a wide receiver 3, given the development, whoever plays quarterback for them, and especially on the road. I'll take the Giants. Whatever fob you have left, whatever waiver claim you have, put it in for the Giants defense if you are streaming defenses. Go get the Giants for championship week. Absolutely. Go get the Giants for championship week. Play them against the Colts. I'm just double checking to see what Malik Willis did this past week. Yeah, I mean, even still against Houston, 99 yards through 2 interceptions. He did run for a score. Yeah, I would say the Cowboys are probably perfectly fine against Malik Willis if you miss out. I would say Eli, you've got the Cowboys. I mean, drop a guy you're not going to play this week. Drop Samaje P. What has Samaje done? What has Samaje P. Ryan done the past couple of weeks? Oh, he did get a score, didn't he? Still, you're not playing him against the Bills. Yeah, don't drop the Cowboys defense because somebody else could pick them up and play them. Well, I guess if they're on waivers, on a Wednesday, then nobody can pick them up on Thursday. But I would hang on to them. If you choose to play the Cowboys, either one should be fine. The Cowboys or the Giants should be fine. The Cowboys against Malik Willis, the Giants at home against Nick Foles or Sam Ehlinger or whoever they play. Either one should be fine. I would drop P. Ryan to pick up the Giants. I would keep the Cowboys defense. And then you can just choose which one you want. Either one is favorable, but I would definitely say spend your top waiver claim to add the Giants. And then honestly, it's personal preference. Either one is viable. The Cowboys should be really good. They're coming off a huge win against the Eagles. So you have to think they're riding with some momentum. Even though it's a road game on a short week, the Titans the one thing the Titans have, obviously, is Derrick Henry. The Colts have, Michael Pittman has been nearly eliminated as far as fantasy relevance or any type of production in general as a result of the quarterback situation. I would probably lean the Giants. But if you miss out on the Giants, at least you still have the Cowboys. So, yeah. And I guess you could also grab, if all else fails, you could probably also grab somebody like Jacksonville as well going up against Houston. It's probably a decent fallback option. But yeah, either one is fine. Iron, you're in the Zombie League final. Did we? I feel like we lost. I think John and I lost. We did. We did not win. We're in the third place game, I guess. We are in the third place game, I suppose. Who's in the trying to remember who else is in the I forget who beat us. I'm taking a look now. Was it Xavier? Did Xavier beat us? Anyway. You might have. Yeah, okay. I don't think I have any championship matchups this year. Womp womp. I had a couple last year, but not this year. Things didn't go my way, but that's all right. I'm glad it went your guys' way, so that's all that matters. But yeah, go win the Zombie League. Screw it. And we will expand that league next year from 8 teams to however many members want to join it. Should be fun. Should be good. Yeah, Swift should be fine at home against the Lions or against the Bears for the Lions. Could be an interesting stack with Goff. Goff's been good at home this year. Let me check his totals. Let's see. Goff this year at home. 15 and a half against the Eagles week 1. Not great, but then, 28, 36, 18 against Miami. Not great, actually. And he kind of had a not great game against Green Bay, but that was a tough matchup, a division game. 18 against Buffalo, 24 against Jacksonville, 28 against Minnesota. Yeah, he's been all right. He's been decent. I thought he was a little better than that, but I guess not. All right. Yeah. If you want to stick with Purdy, you can stick with Purdy. That's fine. Greg Z, what's going on, Greg? For this week, any one of those defenses should all be good. Jacksonville gets Houston on the road. That's a great matchup, although it is a division game. Those games can always be a little weird, but that matchup should be fine for Jacksonville. They're not the best unit here, though. The Cowboys are probably the best unit, and then they're getting the Malik Willis-led Titans offense on the road. The only concern there, obviously, is Derrick Henry. But Malik Willis is still not really there as a passer. He doesn't pose much of a threat against this Cowboys defense. They should be fine. The Cowboys should be fine. The Giants are probably my favorite this week, just at home against Indianapolis. It feels like a layup. Bad quarterback play, bad offensive line play, no real running back to feel good about. It's just Michael Pittman and a prayer out there pretty much for the Colts. The Giants are probably my favorite. And then the Chargers get the Rams. The Rams have been looking like an offense to attack, but then they just hung 51 on the Broncos. So they might be fourth for me here. I would go either Dallas or the Giants, Greg, whichever one you can grab. Jacksonville would be third for me if you miss out on both. Either one should be fine. I think I slightly lean the Giants. If I had to pick one, I would slightly lean the Giants. But on a short week against a rookie quarterback who very clearly has a lot of work to do, has a lot of seasoning still to go in Malik Willis. He's clearly not ready yet. Dallas is also fine. The only thing there is the Titans have Derrick Henry, which is what I think tips the scales for me as far as slightly preferring the Giants as a defense stream. I would go Giants, Cowboys, real close between the two. If you miss out on one and get the other, fine. Giants, Chargers, gap. Jacksonville, gap, Chargers. So Chargers would be fourth. But either the Giants or the Cowboys should be fine. Oh, God. Okay, so it's Jason. Got you. My bad. Jason Myers. Yeah, so it's either Algier or Rachaad White. And it's Algier, Rachaad White, or Christian Watson. We have to see what the practice reports determine for Christian Watson this week. If he's out, it's an easy call. It's an easier call between Algier and Rachaad White. I might actually lean Tyler Algier. They seem to be going to him in like a full-time capacity, so to speak. Cordell Patterson has not been getting a lot of work the past couple weeks. It's like almost the same song and dance as last year. Toward the end of the season, Cordell Patterson like fizzling out. I think last year he ran out of gas. This year they're not giving him the ball. This year they're just not giving him his opportunities. I don't know what that's all about. But yeah, it might be a slight edge to Tyler Algier. Could be. Yeah. R Gravy, what's going on, R Gravy? Tyler Algier, Kamara, or Hopkins, pick two. I mean, it's really hard to. Who do the Cardinals have this week? Oh, they're on the road against Atlanta. I mean, the matchup is great, but man, how can we have any faith in DeAndre Hopkins with Trace McSorley in there? I guess the matchup is better. Atlanta is a much more favorable matchup than Tampa Bay, who held Hopkins to 1 4-yard catch on 10 targets. I guess the targets were there. They were just terrible throws. Targets doesn't mean they're quality targets. It just means they're targets. Um, it is really tough. It is really tough to feel good about DeAndre Hopkins this week. I would say Tyler Algier is actually your shoe-in between these three, our gravy. Look at where we've come between Kamara and Hopkins. Kamara, I'm worried about a little bit on the road against the Eagles. They've shored up their running game or their run defense recently. Now, obviously, the Cowboys can run on damn near anybody, especially when they're at home. But at home against an Andy Dalton-led offense, I feel like the Eagles are going to take care of business this week. They're going to wrap up the 1 seed. They're going to beat the Saints. And Kamara could still come through as a floor play, but I feel a little less confident about him. I feel like Algier is your Algier of these three, go figure, is the guy you should play. At home against Arizona, I would play Algier. I guess Kamara is your floor play, our gravy, and Hopkins is kind of all or nothing. And honestly, the ceiling for Hopkins might be a floor game for him. At least they'll be throwing, right? Or you would think they would be. You think they'd be throwing. I might go with the running backs and just play it safe. I might just go the running backs and play it safe. Hopkins is a little bit more boom bust, and at this point, I think his potential to bust, to not give you a good performance is way higher. With Trace McSorley in there, or I mean, I guess I'm saying that as if did Colt McCoy go on did he go on injured reserve? No, he's questionable. Hopeful for a week 17 return. I guess if Colt McCoy plays, we feel a little better about DeAndre Hopkins. If Colt McCoy plays, I'm fine firing up Hopkins over Kamara. But if it's Trace McSorley again, I might just rock with Kamara and avoid a potential headache. But if Colt McCoy plays, I think I might feel a little better about Hopkins. Algier, I think, is the guy that you have to play. They seem to be going to him. Not seem to. They have 35 carries the past 2 weeks combined. They're giving Algier the rock. And at home against Arizona, which is a top 10 matchup for running backs at this point in the season, Falcons are in full-on evaluation mode. They're going to give their rookies and young guys every opportunity. Algier fits that bill. They want to see what they have in their 5th-round pick. They're not going to be afraid to give Algier all the work he can handle at this point. They're in evaluation mode. So I feel like he's the play here. And then Kamara, if Colt McCoy can't play, Hopkins if Colt McCoy can play. I think that's where I'm at. And then as far as Pacheco versus Algier versus Lenny versus Dillon, that's a tough call. Who do the Chiefs have this week? Chiefs are at home against Denver. Pacheco this past week, he's been giving you decent floors, but nothing spectacular. Man, I mean, the Rams just hung 51 points on the Broncos. That's hard to ignore. I'm gonna have to think about that one, Greg. I hope you're available. Hopefully you're available for one of the weekend streams, one of the start sit streams this weekend. Luckily we don't have to make that call until Sunday. I guess I tentatively want to go Pacheco, but all of these guys have an interesting argument. Fournette had a really good game against Arizona. Now the Bucks get, was it Carolina at home? That's a slightly tougher matchup. Meanwhile, Dillon is at home against the Vikings. Aaron Jones is on the injury report. Hmm. That's a tough call, Greg. We're going to have to see how practice reports play out for the Packers this week. If Aaron Jones sits, then it's A.J. Dillon for sure at home against the Vikings. Um, that one's going to be a tough call. That's going to be a tough call. All have decent matchups. All have plenty good arguments in their favor. I would say let's try to make that call Saturday or Sunday, Greg. If you're able to join one of the live streams, either Saturday or Sunday, great. If not, um, I don't know if you're in the Discord, Greg, but if you're not, go ahead and join it, and we can try to help out with that final call closer to the weekend. If you're not able to join one of the live streams. And hopefully John's able to join us for one of those. He's back at the doctor. A little bit more. I think he's dealing with some back pain. So he's back at the hospital. Hopefully he's all right. Hopefully he'll be good to go for the rest of this week and able to join us for the championship week start sit live streams, the final weekend live streams of the season for us, Saturday 6 p.m. Eastern, Sunday 10 a.m. Eastern. And for anyone who cares to keep hanging out and following along with us, even after the fantasy season ends, we aren't going anywhere. We will still be available during the week for Tuesday and Thursday streams. But this will be the final weekend for start sit help ahead of championship week. If your championship week starts week 18, I'm telling you, I'm just going to tell you to advocate to your commish. Have that shit end week 17. Nobody wants to be dealing with week 18 lineup decisions. That it's usually you're usually playing with fire, more so than you normally are any given week. That's my way of boycotting the week 18, the leagues that go all the way to week 18. I'll be sleeping. I'll be sleeping in that week next week. But yeah, we'll make that final call in the Saturday or Sunday live stream, Greg, if you're able to join one, or if not, go ahead and join up on the Discord. Second link in the description of this video or of this live stream, if you're not a part of the Discord yet and would like to be. That goes for anybody. Evergreen invite. Evergreen invite. Let's see. What else do we got here? Giants defense over Kansas City. I mean, you could go with the Chiefs. Again, the Broncos look like the Broncos and the Colts they're like the broken teams of the NFL this year, right? Like either one should be totally fine. Either one could get you by, but honestly, I guess I would still go the Giants, but I mean, man, you could probably go either way. Probably go either way. Iron, where do I have Tank Dell in my rookie rankings? So he's got a lot. I mean, he's probably like going to be a third round pick. Let's see how what type of pre-draft process. Let's see how the pre-draft process plays out. He's not a top 10 wide receiver for the season. You know, you have your obvious names, right? Addison. You have Addison, you have Jackson Smith and Jigba, you have Downs, you have Quentin Johnson. I'm just naming the top four. Rashee Rice, he's not ahead of those guys. He's not a top 10 wide receiver, and then coupled with the running backs, and then if you play super flex, he's probably like a third round pick. Again, somebody could fall in love with him, draft him a little higher than we maybe expect. He's not ahead of Jalen Hyatt. We're probably looking at a third round rookie grade on him, third round dynasty rookie draft grade on Tank Dell. If he shoots up in the pre-draft process, if his draft capital is strong, that's obviously going to change things. But we're probably looking at a third round pick in rookie drafts. Not the NFL draft necessarily, but in rookie drafts, like if he goes in the fourth round, maybe he goes in the fourth round of the NFL draft. Um, we're probably then looking at around a third round pick, maybe a late second, maybe in super flex leagues that's less likely. Maybe a late second, but probably more along a third round pick in rookie drafts for Tank Dell. And we'll of course continue to, we'll get back into um, the rookie rankings for our recorded content in the off season. If you play Dynasty, or maybe you don't play Dynasty, but you're thinking about playing Dynasty, or maybe you don't play Dynasty at all, you just want to be up to speed on the rookies in general for the upcoming season, because as we all know, rookies are perfectly and totally relevant for redraft season. And if they don't, if not week one, they become relevant eventually, or plenty of them do. We will have that coverage for you throughout the off season if you are interested. Tank Dell, I would say tentatively, we're probably looking at a third round pick in Dynasty rookie drafts. We're again, depending on the landing spot, we're probably not looking at redraft relevance, but we're 8 months away from that, But we shall see. We shall see. As far as Cordero Patterson, yeah, I mean, to the point of his contract, wouldn't you? I mean, if you're the Falcons, if you're not planning on re-signing him, what are you worried about? As far you're not saving him for anything. Just give him some touches, give him some carries. Because if anything, if he's able to stay healthy, obviously you always hope that happens. That'll help him with it in his next contract. Not that the Falcons maybe necessarily care about that. They care about the development of the players that they do intend to keep on their team for 2023. But you're not saving Cordero Patterson for anything if you're not planning on bringing him back. I don't know. Yeah, you want to give you want to give the evaluation you want to evaluate your rookies, your young players when you're a rebuilding team like Atlanta. Yeah, I don't know. But Patterson appears to have taken an extreme backseat to Tyler Algier. He got 14 carries a couple weeks ago, but 11, 10. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Hard to trust Patterson this week, even in a great matchup. Yeah. As far as sitting Davante Adams, I mean, I know he's been incredibly quiet, especially by his lofty standards for the past 3 weeks. Last week was a worst case scenario, right? 2 catches for 15 yards. At least he's back at home this week against San Francisco. Weather's not going to be as much of a concern. I think it was he's used to playing in really cold games, having played all of his career up to this point in Lambeau. He obviously Davante Adams played in Lambeau for years and played in big games for the Packers for years. Those were cold weather games. I don't know. Maybe it was the Raiders team as a whole who were uncomfortable, but at home in a plus matchup against San Francisco, at least by the numbers. I think I have to go back to the well with Davante Adams. I don't think you can. I can't in good faith. I know this past Saturday, 2 catches, 15 yards. That's awful, right? The week before, 4 catches for 28 yards. And then 3 weeks or 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, 3 catches for 71 yards. Catches weren't there. The yardage was. He's at home. I don't think you can sit Davante Adams. I know it feels like pulling teeth recently, but at home in a potential get-right game, are the Raiders still mathematically alive for a playoff berth? I mean, the Chiefs have the division locked up. The Raiders are 6-9. They would need to win their last 2 games, and they would need all kinds of help. Yeah, it's not looking good for them. But I don't think they're mathematically eliminated yet. I think you got to play Devontae Adams. Astro. You got to play Adams. I think you have to play him. But get Keenan Allen into your lineup some other way. He's been rock solid recently. I don't think it can be for Adams, though. He has to be the guy that you fire up. It was your first round pick or second round pick if you had to pick around the 1-2 turn. Whether you took him late first or early second, he's a guy that you relied on. He's a guy that helped you get here. He's a guy with a proven track record, right? It's easy to forget that type of stuff after a really bad week or a bad couple of weeks. Adams has the type of track record that I think you need to just bank on. Yeah. Kind of just need to bank on him. I know it hurts. After these past couple of weeks, I know it feels like you don't even probably want to do it, but I think you have to. I think you have to. Mike, what's going on? Good to see you, man. We get into any championship rounds? We get into any championship matches in any leagues? Hopefully. Hopefully. And of course, if anybody's here chilling, if you're not in a championship match, one, are you in a third place match? We can help out with start set questions there. Or what went wrong this year? Was it injuries? Did the strategy backfire? Anything's on the table, anything's on the table. But hopefully everybody here is in at least one championship match. You're in 2. Nicely done. Congratulations. It's always exciting. Always exciting to get in the championship match. That's what we play for. Winning it, that's a whole other beast. You're probably playing a damn good opponent. But you don't get to it. You don't get this far without a good team yourself. So, congratulations. Dylan McKee, what's going on, Dylan? Gus or Patterson to start at running back? Home against Pittsburgh. It's not a great matchup. But Gus did get decent work. 11 carries, 99 yards. Patterson with a bottom. It's a much better matchup for Patterson than it is for Gus. He's at home. Only 31 yards of offense last week for Cordero Patterson. That's obviously not going to get it done. Only 9 total touches. It could go back to him this week. But man, that's a tough sell right now. How do the Falcons have their depth chart currently listed? Let's keep an eye on this. Let's check this. They have officially moved Algier, the Falcons have, as their starting running back. Now, some of these things you can only take with a grain of salt, right? Like how legitimate is the depth chart? But the fact that they have Algier listed as the starter, a little concerning for Cordero Patterson. The Falcons, again, are obviously a team in evaluation mode. They're going nowhere fast this year, and they know it. They might want to be getting extended looks at their rookies, at their young players, at their young guys. And that could come at the expense of a guy like Cordero Patterson, a 31-year-old Cordero Patterson. Meanwhile, the Ravens are playing for something. I think I lean Gus Edwards, Dylan, for a couple of reasons. The Ravens are still playing for something, right? Ravens are still playing for something. That makes Gus a little bit more viable. You know, when you're down to, when these are your choices, right? When you're down to like some RB3s as like crap, I know I have to start one of these dudes, but I'm not sure who to fire up. At this point in the season, I'm more likely going to lean toward the guy on the team who's playing for something. And the Ravens are still mathematically alive. They've clinched a playoff berth, but they're still mathematically alive for the division, for the AFC North. And obviously the Ravens, any team, if you can still win the division, you're playing for something big. You're playing for home playoff games, or at least one of them. The other thing is, I don't know, so that's one thing. The other thing is, again, kind of on the flip side, I don't know that how much run Cordell Patterson is going to get with the Falcons out of the playoffs and in evaluation mode. They're looking at their young guys. They've moved Tyler Algier to the top of their depth chart for running backs. I don't know how much run Patterson's going to get. He might, they could surprise. NFL teams do dumb shit all the time, right? He might go back to getting 15 touches. And it's a great matchup. He might not need that many touches to bust off a big run, but now you're talking about coming through on some crazy elite efficiency. And that's just hard to do. It's just hard to do. I think I slightly lean Gus Edwards. He's the guy on the team who's playing for something, and the Ravens want to run the football. With Dobbins, with Edwards, and obviously they hope that they have a healthy Lamar Jackson back as well. I think I slightly lean Gus. And yeah, I would tentatively guess the third round, Iron. I would totally guess that. And then at that point, even if you really want him, it's more than feasible to make a trade to get the pick to get him if you really want him. Yeah. Satanta, what's going on? You got Hopkins, DPJ, and Myers for the championship. Oh, man. I think of this group, you probably have to go. Who's Cleveland have this week? I think, is Cleveland mathematically alive still for the playoffs? I feel like they might not be. Did they get eliminated? The Browns, they might have the same number. They might have the same chance as the Raiders, which is probably slim to none. They need to win their last two games, and then they need a lot of help. But they're on the road against Washington. He's been consistent though. Or I mean, he's been pretty reliable for 4 of the past 6 weeks. He's hit double-digit half PPR scoring. DPJ has. If Colt McCoy comes back, you have to play DeAndre Hopkins and just hope for the best. He's the most talented player of these three. And I know he completely bottomed out, right? 1 catch for 4 yards on 10 targets. That probably lost a lot of people their matchups this week. Hopkins probably blew it for a lot of people. But if Colt McCoy is back, that's an upgrade from Trace McSorley, however you want to spin it, right? So you probably need to fire him back up. If it is Trace McSorley for another week, then you can seriously consider benching Hopkins for those other 2 guys. Myers, I know, had a good week against the Bengals. And that was also with Devontae Parker out. Myers was quiet in the week that in week 15, which is that was the game that Devontae Parker did play in. Of course, that was also the week where he threw that ridiculous backward lateral against the Raiders that lost him 20 rushing yards and killed 2 points. Still, even if he had those 2 points back, he only caught 2 balls for 47 yards. It was not a good game for him. Not a good game. But he fired at home against the Bengals. I would keep an eye on. So this is kind of like a move. These are moving pieces, right? Or this is like a very like moving target, so to speak, Satanta. Like if Colt McCoy plays, you got to fire up Hopkins. I would also, as it pertains to Jacoby Myers, keep an eye on Devontae Parker as far as his practice reports. If Parker can't go, Myers is way more interesting because then he has to be peppered with targets. If Colt McCoy plays and Devontae Parker plays, Hopkins and DPJ. If Colt McCoy plays and Devontae Parker is out, Hopkins and Myers. If it's Trace McSorley for Arizona, then maybe DPJ and Myers. And then if it's Trace McSorley and Devontae Parker plays for the Patriots, then maybe you suck it up with Hopkins and then DPJ. So, like, it all depends on these different variables, these different scenarios. Wait for the practice reports to play out. Let's see if Devontae Parker suits up for New England. Let's see if Colt McCoy is able to give it a go for Arizona. And depending on all those variables, that's how you make your final call, right? Got some good running backs to lean on, though, for championship week. That's nice. I don't know if I want to rely on Mark Andrews, though. He has been so disappointing this year. The Bills have they're on the road in Cincinnati. You might want to fire up Dawson Knox in the event of a shootout, in the event of a potential shootout between the Bills and the Bengals. You might want to go Knox at tight end. Yeah. You might want to. You might want to consider that. I don't think Andrews, I'm pretty sure somebody may want to fact check me on this. I don't think Mark Andrews has ever scored in his career against the Pittsburgh Steelers, his week 17 opponent. I don't think Mark Andrews has ever scored a touchdown against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Food for thought. Mike, are you in the championship league of the members league? I know Rojo knocked me out. Rojo knocked me out of the championship. Oh yeah, you are. You beat oh man, the 1 seed and the 2 seed fell this week. It's gonna be Rojo against Mike. 2 OGs for all the marbles. You love to see it. Well, best of luck. Best of luck to the both of you in case Rojo's in here. And yeah, hey man, if your strategy has gotten you as far as it has most years and it just doesn't work out one year, then you just chalk it's an outlier. It's it's sometimes things work out, sometimes they don't. It's that simple. It's a fickle game that we play. Sometimes the strategy can be fine. It's just if you deployed a zero RB strategy this year and drafted Josh Jacobs, you're probably doing really good. And on the flip side, if you spent your first 2 picks on running back and you were able to land Jalen Waddle in the 4th round, you're also doing very well. There's multiple ways to win. There's no one strategy that anybody can claim is more successful than the other. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But hey, if that strategy has won you championships, then don't stray away from it, Just didn't work out this year. Sometimes sometimes it's easy to overreact and think like, well, zero RB didn't work out for me this year. Not necessarily. It just might have been the wrong players. If you got Stephon Diggs and Travis Kelce, first and your first 2 picks, or Diggs and Tyreek Hill, that worked out. That worked out great. But if you drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire instead of Josh Jacobs or Miles Sanders, then that's just execution. It's not necessarily the strategy, right? There you go. And Dylan Tate, if you fought through injuries and got the championship match, sometimes that's the victory in and of itself, you know? But you put yourself in the game, you put yourself in the match, and now it's just let's go play football on Sunday, right? Sometimes that's the victory that we have to take, though. Hey, I might be hurting. I'm dealing. I gotta choose between two or three RB3s to plug in as my RB2 because of the injuries. But hey, you are in the match. I'd rather have a difficult decision to make in the championship match than easy lineup decisions to make in the consolation bracket. You know what I mean? I know you know that, but sometimes that's just how it plays out. What's going on, Xavier? Good to see you, man. Jags, Giants, or Ravens this week. So I like the Giants a lot. I really like the Giants' defense this week. They're at home against the Colts. And between the Colts and the Broncos, you're talking about probably the two most dysfunctional teams in the NFL this year. I like the Giants. The Jags should be fine. They're playing Houston. That should be a good matchup as well, but I would prefer the Giants. I would prefer the Giants at home against whoever they start at quarterback, whether it's Nick Foles or Sam Ellinger or they go back to Matt Ryan. The bad offensive line that they have, it's not there's not a running back in that backfield that you fear as an opposing defense or defensive coordinator. Sorry, Zach Moss, Deion Jackson, no disrespect, but it is dire straits for the Indianapolis Colts, man. I would totally fire up the Giants. The Ravens should be fine against Kenny Pickett, but I would prefer to roll the dice on the clearly more broken offense. And that is the Colts. The Colts and the Broncos are officially, I mean, the Broncos have been for a while, but the Colts are for sure with their terrible situation at quarterback. Target them, target them, target them. The Giants for sure. As far as your quarterback, you're playing Hurts if he's able to give it a go. You have to roll the dice on him, even if he's less than 100%. But if not, Jones should be a perfectly fine pivot against, also against the Colts. He may not throw for a ton of yards, but he's always going to be a threat to vulture rushing scores in the red zone or on the goal line. He'll run in general. Jones is a fine pivot if Hurts can't go. And as far as McSorley at quarterback, I'm only if it's McSorley, I'm only playing Hopkins if it's Hopkins or like Devontae Parker. I'm down to we're talking wide receiver 4s and 5s. Like if it's DeAndre Hopkins or Isaiah Hodgins who just had a great game, I'll roll the dice on Hopkins, right? Like I'll go back to the well on the proven player. At least he had 10 targets, right? At least he had 10 targets. They were bad targets. A lot of poor throws, off target throws, but at least there were 10 targets. But that being said, I am really hoping it's Colt McCoy. I really hope it's Colt McCoy for DeAndre Hopkins. If it's Trace McSorley again, I'm only going back to Hopkins if I'm down to wide receiver 4s as my alternatives. So it all depends on who your other options are, That all depends. Dylan, no problem. Happy to help. As far as the kickers, I would be tempted to want to play Bass. I would be tempted to play Bass as long as the weather, again, we want to check the weather reports in Cincinnati because there's potential for a shootout. That's probably going to be the highest point total. That game is going to have the highest point total as far as as far as Vegas's odds on the games. I would want the kicker in that scenario, or I would want the kicker in that game over the other options. I would, in a vacuum, I would want Bass. We want to keep an eye on the weather in Cincinnati. I can try to take a way too early look at it. Let's see. What do we have for way too early predictions for the forecast in Cincinnati, Ohio on Monday night? We'll have to take a look at the 10-day forecast. because I don't pay for the Weather Channel. They put like hourly rate. They after the first like after the next like 36 hours, they put it behind a paywall, and it's like you can keep that. I'll just look at the weather when it actually comes time to worry about the weather closer to that day. On Monday, looks like a low of 52 degrees, only a 20% chance of rain and 7 miles per hour. Tentatively, I want to play Bass. Good kicker on the best offense of this group. Elliott would be in that conversation as far as best offense in the group, but it's a little more volatile with Gardner Minshew. Although they did score 34 points, they turned the ball over 4 times though. Nobody talked to me about that game. I would want to play Bass, Xavier. Give me the guy attached to the best offense. And the Bills the Bills are still playing for something. They can clinch the 1 seed. You want guys on teams playing for something. Good teams playing for something. What do I expect from Ridley next year? Yeah, that's I can't quite put my finger on Calvin Ridley. He might be a second half guy. Again, it's going to be similar to now off-field scenario. I'm not comparing, but it's going to kind of be like a Deshaun Watson situation from the perspective of he hasn't played football in a really long time. Now, Watson was a 2-year absence. Ridley is it's close to 2 years. It's a year and a half, basically. He basically left the team mid-season last year. There's probably going to be some rust with Calvin Ridley. So I would say the first month of the season, you're probably not going to be relying on him. But at least now, Trevor Lawrence looks like he's figuring it out. So he's going to be attached to a good young quarterback. I would just say it's probably going to take some time. But he's got wide receiver 2 upside if he can shake off the rust, say within the first month of the season. So I would hold on to him. Don't try to, if you can get a first round pick for him, you might just want to go ahead and do that, but you're probably not going to get it. But again, we've seen Calvin Ridley as a wide receiver 1 numerous seasons, and now he's got Trevor Lawrence as his quarterback who looks like, the next quarterback to take that next step forward as one of the upper echelon, possibly elite quarterbacks in the league. So his situation is good. It's just how long does it take him to shake off the rust? He hasn't played for a year and a half. It'll be close to 2 years total when you factor in the offseason, this coming offseason. It'll be almost 2 years since he's played. So again, there's going to be some rust with Calvin Ridley. There will be. He will not step on the field week 1 and have, a 10-catch, 100-yard performance with a touchdown. I feel confident saying that's not going to be the case week 1 for Calvin Ridley. But at least his situation is good. His situation is good. You have to feel good about the trade, given the recent performances of Trevor Lawrence. So you can feel good about Calvin Ridley. You're probably just going to have to temper expectations for, I would say, the first month of the season. First month of 2023. And you're welcome. About the help with the wide receivers. Again, it's going to be moving parts. Just keep an eye on practice reports. Keep an eye on practice reports as it pertains to all of the guys that you're questionable about, as far as I'm not 100% locked in with this guy in my lineup. Pay attention to his teammates, right? Who's on the injury report, and go from there. And Xavier, I'm pretty sure Xavier was the and what you were, yeah. You doing all right in that league. Hey man. Is it you and Iron? Is it you and Iron in the chip? I think it is, actually. Yeah, it is. It's you and Iron in the chip. Well, best of luck to both of you. But unfortunately, only one can win. Nicely done. Nicely done. Yeah. Um, yeah, let's put it this way. We stole Kelsey from you, but then you made it not matter because you beat us anyway. But yeah, congratulations. Congrats on making it to the chip. We'll have more teams in the Zombie League next year. It's gonna be fun. I like the Zombie League. I would advocate. I mean, we're gonna probably randomize it again just for fun, but I would totally be okay with being the zombie and having that challenge um, of knocking teams off. It's clearly very difficult. Nemo had an uphill battle because it was an 8-man league. So you're going to have loaded teams against a decent team. Even from waivers, you can create a decent team, from waivers in a zombie league, in when it's an 8-man league. But still, you're going against 7 other stacked squads. So that's a tough battle to be fighting. But I would be interested in having that role. We'll probably make it random though. But yeah, the winners of the Facemask Fantasy Leagues are going to win some type of merch. The winner gets to choose if you guys want a jersey of your choice, we will make sure we take care of you for that. There's definitely a little bit of incentive there. That's if you win a Facemask Fantasy League, which you can join if you are a member of our channel. Some people joined during the season, so obviously we're not starting leagues mid-season. But if you are a member, you get to join leagues with us, and the winner gets some merch. Not too bad. Is that how it works? If you win the zombie league, you're the zombie next year. I would have to look that up. If it's not random each year, if the winner just becomes zombie, or we could figure that all out. Yeah. We'll sort all that out. As far as okay, so it would be Hopkins. I guess that's Zonovan Knight, who yeah, that might have been a nice little cup of coffee run for Zonovan Knight. I'm not sure that we can go back to him week 17. Pacheco is very enticing, and honestly, even if it is Colt McCoy, I mean, if it's Colt McCoy, I guess you probably have to just play DeAndre Hopkins. But if it's Trace McSorley, I am more than fine just playing Pacheco at home against a broken Broncos team who they got 51 dropped on them by Baker Mayfield. That's a perfectly fine pivot. But again, let's keep an eye on the practice reports. See if it's Colt McCoy for the Cardinals this week. And I'll double check that about the zombie. If you win the league and as a result you are the zombie the next season, I don't know if that's how it necessarily works, but you may know something I don't, Iron. But yeah, we can expand the zombie league to include more of the members. We will have more member leagues in the 2023 season. So any members who joined us during the season, you'll obviously get a chance to be a part of member league, at least a member league. If you want to play in more than one, you absolutely can. And the winner gets some merch, or like a jersey. That's what you can make that call. It can be a player on your championship squad. It could be a player from a different league. It could be whatever you want. It could be whatever you want. So it's fun. It's a good. It's fun to be able to have those leagues with the members. If you choose to become a member, if anybody chooses to become a member, that is one of the perks. Getting to play leagues with myself and John, and then of course you get a little bit extra from us in the way of we'll do one-on-ones. We'll do one-on-one team evaluations and help at any point during the season or during the off season. There's a few extra things in there. As far as merch, Mike, actually, we do have a store. It is, I think it's the last link in the description of the video. We do have a store on TeePublic. Yeah, it's our if you expand the description and go all the way down, we have merch. We have a store on TeePublic if you want to grab a t-shirt or something like that. But the winner will get merch free of charge. We'll take care of that for you if you win a Facemask Fantasy member league. So yeah, but we do have a store if you want to take a look at some of the options that we have available now. And Xavier, this is the matchup. Mahomes, Connor, Jacobs, Jefferson, Myers, Kell. That's a damn good looking team. Hurts or Danny Dimes. Hopefully Hurts. McCaffrey, Saquon. That's nice. CD, Godwin, Hopkins pending. Hopkins pending the quarterback situation. Schultz. I would hope you can grab the Giants and then Bass. I guess I kind of like the second team a little bit more. The Mahomes Kelsey stack with Justin Jefferson is pretty lethal. But McCaffrey, Saquon, CD, Godwin, that's pretty damn good too. Pretty even matchup. The running backs, obviously, the second team, the running backs are the clear advantage. The Mahomes Kelsey stack is pretty lethal with Jefferson, but there's a big drop off going to Jacoby Myers. I'd much rather have Chris Godwin than Jacoby Myers. Yeah, I think I like the balance of your team, Xavier, but yeah, that team you're going up against sure is top heavy. The Mahomes Kelsey stack is pretty damn lethal, and then Jefferson. It's gonna be tough, but again, yeah, there are drop offs. There's holes in that lineup. Zach Moss, I mean, whatever. Connor's been really good. Jacobs is going to be a first round pick in redraft next year, or at least a high second round pick. And Myers is up and down, but he can be really good. But I would say the balance of your team is stronger. The balance of your team is stronger. Oh, that's right. Jacobs has the 49ers. Yeah, that's about as bad of a matchup as if you're going against Jacobs, that's the matchup you want. San Francisco. They stop the run better than anybody. But obviously Jacobs is a different beast, right? That's a different type of challenge for San Francisco as well. Two good teams, clearly, two very good teams. I would say team one's a little more top heavy. Mahomes Kelsey stack with Justin Jefferson and Josh Jacobs, but the balance is the running back. Obviously, McCaffrey and Saquon you'd rather have. McCaffrey's got a beautiful matchup against Vegas. And then hopefully Hurts can go. If Hurts can go, that might be what puts you over the top, man. We'll see what happens. And yeah, hopefully he can grab the Giants. Again, one more time, if you're down to, if you're streaming defenses, the Giants are your top ad this week. The Giants are your top ad. They're playing the Colts at home. That's your top ad. Go grab the Giants. I would absolutely stream them as my defense this week. At home, trying to clinch a playoff spot, that's exactly what you want. They're going to be going all out against a broken, dysfunctional Colts offense. So top waiver ad this week is the Giants defense for me. So with that said, we are at the end of the chat. I'll keep this open for a couple more minutes in case there are any last second questions. Again, we will be back to our normal stream schedule this weekend. There are no Saturday games this weekend. It is the full Sunday slate, the final Thursday night game of the season with the Cowboys and the Titans, and then a full Sunday slate. A great Monday night matchup, by the way, between the Bengals and Bills. There's going to be a lot of fantasy championships that hinge on the performances in that matchup. That's going to be a great game. Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern. Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern. We are here for the final start, sit, help of the season, at which point those will be the ends of our weekend streams. We will still be around in the off season for our Tuesday and Thursday streams, probably Wednesday as well for the members. TBD on what we actually end up doing as far as off season scheduling. That is still to come. And then, of course, most of you know, but if you're not a part of the Discord, second link in the description of this video, evergreen invite. If you can't make the streams, or if you think of any questions later or in the coming days, you can ask the questions in there. Members get additional rooms that they get a little extra access to me. I see and identify those rooms first, those questions first. But you can always crowdsource if you're not a member. I think we're getting close to 60 total people in the Discord. So plenty of people to help crowdsource questions. If you think of any after this stream, whether it's start, sit, or anything else. But I think that's going to do it for the rest of this evening. Again, congratulations to everybody that has championship matches this week, who have something, playing for all the marbles, all the house money. It's an exciting time. This is what all the weeks and months of preparation and scheming and strategy that you play, or that you put into this. This is what we play for, guys. So again, congratulations to those who are in the championship match. If you're not in the championship match this year, that's totally okay. Hopefully we will get you there next year. And again, we are not going anywhere. We will be here all off season long. Dynasty stuff is coming, is on the horizon. I know a lot of you guys are looking forward to that. We will be here all off season long for our Dynasty coverage. But first, we got some championships to win. So again, if we don't see you this weekend, let us know if there's any last second questions in the Discord, or you can always comment on one of our videos. We'll make sure that we see it. Otherwise, we will see y'all this Sunday or this Saturday or Sunday for some start, sit, help. Everybody have a great week. Hopefully y'all had a good holiday. Enjoy the New Year festivities if we don't see you between now and then. And let's get these wins. Everybody have a good week. We'll see you this weekend. Thanks, everybody.